taken away from its reference points. Now, across from us on the right, that red swoop of a sculpture is called Constellation by the architect Santiago Calatrava, and the building behind it with the parabolic arches from 19 is an office building known as River Point by Pickard Chilton. Now that's all fine and good, but I have a question to ask you all about this building. We're going to take a vote. It either looks like a Hot Pocket or it looks like the old McDonald's apple pie boxes. Okay, so you can only vote for one. Who says Hot Pocket? Okay, who says McDonald's apple pie? Yes, McDonald's apple pie box. Now, add to what I've already told you about. I'm going to tell you about what it is. For example, start over here on the right. Remember 150 North Riverside? I told you a lot about it. What I did not tell you is that if you look up, we can see ourselves in it. Check that out. Woo! Looking good, everybody. We Queen Wave.
Well, wait till 2026.
Everybody likes a mirror. We all like a mirror. That is why the bean is such a popular sculpture. Who here has seen the bean? Awesome.
It's
Hands down.
gay.
Who here managed to get right across the street from the bean to see the world's largest Tiffany dome made of 30,000 pieces of Tiffany stained glass made mostly by women? Not as many, right? We miss the things next to the famous things. That's why that pink building had a drum of lights on its head, too close to the Sears Tower. We miss famous things. We miss things next to the famous things. The headquarters building on the right, take a look all the way up. It's got these big half circle holes up there, which are actually full circle holes because it was originally the Morton Salt Company building and it was meant to be reminiscent of a salt shaker. Everything has a reason. The Bank of America Tower directly on your left finished just a few years back from the river in a way the building right after it isn't. That's because these are about the river. We used to turn our back building. You got to leave room for the public. Now directly after that, the Civic Opera Building. Yay! It's a building. Building. Why the V? Why the V, Chicago? Ask me at the end of the tour. I'll tell you why. Because back over on the right, 1929, designed by Halliburton Root, look at the part of this clock. And just down to the right and the left of the clock, you can make out faint reliefs of ancient scribes hammering out the news of their day. Because even though that building is known by its address now, that was originally the Daily News Building, another newspaper headquarters. So I always say pay a little bit more attention to the frosting on the cakes. It's going to tell you a lot more about the cake itself. Now back over on the left, here's another one we've labeled for you from 1987, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Center. We call it the Merc for short. Do it with the shape of it though. It's got a lower middle part flanked by two towers. The reason for that is the lower middle part originally housed a 40,000 square foot trading floor that they didn't want to interrupt with columns to hold up the ceiling because columns would get in the way of everyone's trading gestures. So the question is, okay, but then how do you support the ceiling of a 40,000 square foot room without columns on the inside? Well, what Fujikawa Johnson and Associates did, build a tower on either side, ever so slightly, so that when they put in the ceiling of the middle part, the weight as planned brought the towers back up straight. I mean, I don't know about you all, that mind, right? Technically, physically, mathematically, if you take all the people in the office equipment out of those towers, they should do that, right? That's what I mean when I say these tours should be so much more than 1987 Fujikawa Johnson and Associates. It's an office building. It's like, yeah, okay, that's all important, but do you remember that stuff? Probably not. You'll remember that, right? Think of the last time you had something difficult to do at your job, right? And then think about handling the math on that. That's insane. Now on your left, a little shout out to my alma mater, Band Champaign. And then directly after that, in the gap, you got your second and final view of all by Bruce Graham of Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, with Fosler Khan as the head and Robin of American 20th Century Architecture. They did that one together in 1973. They did the John Hancock Center together in 1969. They were such a team, get this, they are buried next to each other in Graceland Cemetery. How adorable is that? Sun right now, but that red box is a big "You Are Here" sign for this building. So we're about to coast right through the shade being cast by that red box. See that? I had a little girl on a tour one time. I got a full boat, 200 people in front of me. She's like 6 years old. She's right in the middle of the boat. I'm in the middle of talking. She just stands up and she goes, "Why did they put that there?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, let's save questions for the end. And I said, "Because it made you ask about it." Right? Because remember, this is marketing, right? It's an art. It's a functional art. We get distracted by the function. All art has an intended audience. This is marketing for whatever is inside the building, right? There's a reason we urb appeal, right? Take a look at the distance out on the left. The building with the statue on top, she's marketing for that building because that is the Chicago Board of Trade, an Art Deco masterpiece from 1930 designed by Halliburton and Root. She is a 30-foot tall aluminum statue of the Roman goddess of grains and agriculture, Ceres, where we get the word cereal from. So why is she marketing for the Board of Trade? Well, because the Board of Trade began as a grains exchange back in 1848. And that's actually the theme for the entire building. Grains on the outside, grains on the inside. Buildings don't always have a theme. Oftentimes, Art Deco buildings from the 20s and 30s have a theme to their details.
That's a Willis Tower, the tallest building in Chicago.
About a few urban myths, because there's a few urban myths that some of them are kind of more popular, and I hear other people ask me about these at the end of the tours. Some of them are less popular, but I still kind of like them. So one of my favorites, well, first of all, has anyone ever heard that curvy black building out by Navy Pier is Oprah's building? Okay, that's a very common urban myth. She actually never lived there. Okay, that's a total urban myth. Sammy Sosa lived there. Oprah never did. Another urban myth was about that building with the statue on top. All right, very often tour guides unfortunately tell people that building's statue was left faceless because when it was built in 1930, it was the tallest point in the city. 30-foot tall statue, after building a 30-foot tall statue, got lazy and was like, nah, no one's gonna see her face. It's like, what a disservice to the artist to say something like that. The man just built a 30-foot tall statue. His name was John Storrs. Okay, when you see close-up pictures of her, you can see she's got all kinds of detail to her. She's got little diagonal lines for armpits. All right, so if he felt that people could see that level of detail, he would have put a face on her if he wanted to. What he actually said was that by leaving her faceless, it gave her a more ethereal, goddess-like quality. She's symbolic, right? But probably my favorite urban myth, and this one I don't hear as often, but I still love it, has to do with that pink building that we started the tour with. All right, and if you forgot what it looked like, it's literally right behind us. It has that castellated top, and it has that drum of 2,000 fluorescent light bulbs up on top. So every once in a great while, I get somebody who comes up to me at the end of the tour. They're like, Hillary, isn't that pink building the really romantic building where the architect's fiance got sick while he was designing it and she died? And so he made the top of his building look like a gleaming engagement the night sky for her. I know. And then I have to be the jerk that's like, no. Nope. Number one, he was married. Number two, she's fine. And number three, that castellated top, remember I said, was referring to the top of the Tribune Tower, the massing, the general shape of those flying buttresses on the Tribune Tower. And it's got that drum of lights up on top because it wants to get attention away from the Sears Tower, right? So don't believe everything you hear on these tours. Believe everything you're hearing on this tour, but don't believe everything you hear on these tours. Now, on your left, a boatload of people dying to be waved to like royalty. Let's hit it. Jim, this is your birthday wave.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Don't take the day off. Yes, it is. It is. So, the building on the left kind of looks familiar, doesn't it? Because that is where we started the tour. And in just a little bit, tour. But more importantly, you all got to know this architect through his much more famous buildings. Remember those corn cobs we saw before? And I said, even if you've never been to Chicago, you've seen those corn cobs somewhere. They are iconic Chicago buildings from the 1960s. They were called Marina City by Bertrand Goldberg. Same guy gave us this one about 20 years later in the 1980s. This one is called River City. But it's that same idea. Build a city within a city so that people stop leaving the city for the suburbs and instead stick around in the city a little bit. All right, gonna take a quick pulse. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Okay, give me a queen wave.